welcome to the Mindset Playground, where you're going to get your daily dose of positivity. And I'm your host, Lou Ann Hunt. And today I have such a great show. I am talking to one of my good friends. Actually, we haven't known each other for very long, but we've been working together, and it's so much fun. And I can't wait for you to get to know him. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and never miss another episode of the Mindset Playground. Visit my website at luannhunt.ca and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All right, so let's get started. This great friend of mine has such a cool story, and I can't wait to talk to him about it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him to the Mindset Playground. Tommy, welcome.
Hi, Luann. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, can I be any more excited? I don't know if you've ever watched Friends, but that's what I'm talking about here, of course. But I'm so excited that you have found time in your busy schedule. And I know it's busy because I've been following you all over the place. And I know it's busy. So I really appreciate you, Tommy. So listen, what is it about Tommy that we need to know? What started your whole journey into the personal development world?
Oh, what started my journey? Well, first of all, it's just really great to be here with you. So thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here. So what started my journey into personal development? Well, honestly, I'll tell you about the first thing. So it was in 2000. I was either 8 or 9. I was working at our local NBC station here in Denver in TV land, okay, and was having some trouble with some friends and just some toxicity and some friendships that really wasn't serving me. And my blessed Aunt Linda, she has been in the personal development world for a long time, spiritual world, and she took me to lunch one day and she's like, I need to tell you about something I'm observing. You have a lot of codependent relationships going on in your friendship circle. And I'm like, I've never heard that term. I don't know what that is. She's like, I'm going to give you a book. And she gave me the book Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie. And I read that. And that was the first, flicker of the lights going on, the veil lifting of like understanding myself from like an internal perspective versus just living from the outside in all the time. And so that really got me started down that path. And then I started listening to people like Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Louise Hay, that whole Hay House lineup of speakers. And that's what got me started. And it was actually in a couple of years prior to that, in like 2000, maybe 6 or 7, when I was in college, I went to the Art Institute of Colorado for video production. And of all things, in my contracts and negotiations class, our teacher one day wheeled in the TV. He's like, we have to watch a video today. This has nothing to do with contracts, but this just came into my awareness and I need you all to see it. And he played the movie The Secret. Okay.
Really?
And so that was actually my kind of first real exposure, but it didn't quite sink in. And, I obviously saw Bob Proctor in that, but that didn't necessarily stick. It wasn't until years later that I really got into Bob's information, but that's how it started.
So would you say that really changed your life?
Yeah. Not seeing The Secret, first of all, that was sort of before, but I was really ready to make some changes in my life when I read that book, that codependent book. That was a big turning point, looking in reverse at it. Yeah.
Wow. And so you didn't even really know what personal development was all about. And then when you're
I'd
reading
never
this
heard the
book,
words.
wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So,
really didn't even know the words personal development until getting into Bob's world, like, a few years later. Yeah.
so in the book, when you read this book, what would you say the number one thing that stuck with you?
Oh gosh, it's been so long. Um, I guess, so I had a real issue. My issue was boundaries. Okay. I did not have good boundaries in friendships. I have always had what, Oprah refers to as the disease to please, people pleasing. And so I didn't have very good boundaries with really anybody in my life, and especially friends and roommates and things. I was very prone to be taken advantage of and wondering why I feel so exhausted and depleted at the end of a day, or so drained by a situation, because I was just giving all of myself and not having any concept of boundaries at all. So I think boundaries, that's the big one.
That is a good one. That's really
Yeah.
good. And I think that that's a great lesson for the mindset playground, because if you're going to be doing anything at all that starts with mindset, it's got to be all these little things that internally affect you, such
Yeah.
as learning your boundaries. Well, that's
Yeah.
great. So now let's just fast forward a little bit. So I know that you went to school for, uh,
Video production. Yep.
oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you became this amazing photographer and you kind of started a business. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've always been sort of creative and technical, early adopter of technology. I think I had one of the first digital cameras that ever came out, maybe even in high school. So always kind of had a camera around or in my hand, and then went to school for video. And of course, video is just moving pictures, right? So yeah, got really passionate about taking images of all kinds. And it was when I was working for the TV station here in Denver, I got the opportunity to start taking the photos of the talent, like the headshots for all of the anchors and reporters and things like that. And so that's where I kind of fell in love with headshot photography, specifically as a genre. And after I left the TV station to work, independently full time in my production company, taking pictures and headshots was part of what I did, but it was not all of what I did. And I got really into that, and I thought I really want to go into this as a specialty there for a while. But I really wasn't happy with my work in the way that I was doing it. So that was the first time I ever went out to like seek mentorship, even though I didn't even have a concept of that word. But I was like, I need some guidance. I want to find out who's doing this really well, that I could learn from. And that's when I found my mentor, Peter Hurley, who's the greatest headshot photographer in the world and founder of the Headshot Crew, and got into his program and learned everything about what he does. And that's where my headshot business took off like a rocket.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And what did you love most about owning that business? It's
Uh, well, for me, I mean, I loved the actual work, like the creation of it. There's a really strong artist streak in me, so I love creating beautiful, beautiful things. But for me, that was always about being able to give somebody, like my client or the person in front of my camera, provide them with an experience, an uplifting experience that resulted in them seeing the best photograph of themselves they've ever seen, and
oh,
the lasting impact that could have on them from a self-confidence standpoint, or whatever, not to mention what it can do for their business. But yeah, for me, it was about that kind of that transformation that can happen in the space of a 30-minute headshot session, and the resulting image, and kind of how that would have these ripple effects for a lot of years for a lot of people.
oh, that's great. Now, I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you a little secret. You're going to
Okay.
laugh when I tell you this. In high school, many years ago, I was in the camera club.
Oh, cool.
I had a 110 camera. Do you remember the 110s? And it
Oh,
had the little tower on it with the flash that
oh,
was on top. And
sure. Yep.
oh yeah, I loved taking pictures. So my very first digital camera was, of course, I think one MPEG or whatever it was called back
Right.
then.
Mine too. Mine too. 1 megapixel. Yep.
Yeah, like yeah, I know. And then of course nowadays, wow, like your iPhone is it's crazy. It's crazy. I went and got a new iPhone when I went to Greece because I
Yeah.
knew that the best pictures and the best video were going to be on my iPhone. So
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
crazy how
I know. They're making
technology.
movies with these things now. And
Yeah,
there's a great book out there that says the best camera is the one you have with you. So it's like,
that's true.
hmm
Except when you forget to turn on the speaker or the volume. And here
yeah.
I took all these beautiful videos in Santorini in Greece, and I'm taking all this video and I'm so happy because I got all this really cool video. And when I went to play it all back, no sound. How
Oh
crazy
man.
was that? It was a brand new phone. I think I needed to hire a 2-year-old to show me how to use it. But anyway, that's okay. I ended up making some pretty beautiful shots and videos when I got to Greece. I mean, how could you not?
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
so now let's fast forward. So I
Yep.
basically have taken the Jack Canfield route, and I know that you were working a little bit with Bob Proctor, so or a
Yeah.
lot with Bob Proctor. But how did that all get started? Was he just one of your mentors, or?
So these stories connect. So Peter Hurley, my photography mentor, he was a student of Bob's and is still one of Bob's greatest success stories, testimonials for his clients. He started the headshot crew. He became a U.S. Olympic sailor because of Bob's guidance and mentorship. And so when I joined the headshot crew and started learning about photography, of course, I'm hearing Peter also talk about this guy, Bob Proctor, and, all of, him. And again, he wasn't really in my awareness, but I decided, well, I'm learning from this guy. I might as well do what he says, right? So I started looking up Bob, and I was like, oh, this is the white-haired guy from The Secret in the tan suit, connecting the dots, right? So I started, kind of watching some YouTube videos, and this is during that whole time of like getting the headshot business really going. And one day, one of my headshot clients asked me if I'd ever heard of Bob Proctor, and I'm like, oh, this is getting spooky, like all kinds of synchronicity happening, right? And I said, yes. I actually just started kind of learning from him, and he was like, well, I just streamed one of his online seminars, and I was like, oh, could you send me a link? Like, so I got like a bootleg link to the replay and started watching it, and I'm watching it, hearing all of Bob's amazing ideas, and out on the stage walks Peter Hurley to give a testimonial for Bob live at that event. And he told everyone in the audience, his story. And he also said, I'm a headshot photographer. I have the headshot crew. Everyone in this audience needs a professional headshot. If you're in business, you need a headshot these days. And a couple of weeks later, I got a call from someone who was at that event and found me on the headshot crew and lived in Denver, where I live, and was like, I was just at this Bob Proctor seminar and Peter Hurley, and I need a headshot. And I'm like, oh my God, my mind's just blowing, right, of all this synchronicity. Turns out she's one of Bob Proctor's consultants. And long story short, by the end of her session, I had signed up for one of Bob's programs called Thinking into Results. And so that, combined with Peter Hurley's guidance or whatever, that's what caused my headshot business to take off like a rocket, because I'm studying this information and I'm getting really good at what I'm doing. And it was just a real recipe for success that year.
Oh, wow. And that's
Yeah.
great. And of
Yeah.
course, it obviously helped you with your business and
Oh,
making you
yeah.
so successful.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Well,
I went from like, I really wasn't doing much of a headshot business at the time. I wanted to, but I really wasn't doing much. So I was, maybe doing a few $1,000s or a couple, $1,000 here or there a month doing that. And I wanted to make that the main thing. And getting involved in that program with Bob, I went from like, 1 to 2 to 30,000 a month within like 6 months.
wow.
Just specializing in the headshots, and that got a lot of attention.
So what do you think was well, I know that there's so many things that they talk about, that Bob talks about, Brian talks about,
Yeah.
but what do you think the number one thing was that kind of stuck with you, that helped
For me,
you?
for me in the beginning, it was absolutely goals. I didn't have a relationship with the word goal at the time. I had been studying a lot of other spirituality things. Like I said, Wayne Dyer, Esther Hicks, all those kinds of teachers, but none of them really talked about goals. In fact, a lot of them discouraged goals and to one degree or another. And Bob was the first person I'd really heard talk about goals. And so that was the time I first, got familiar with that concept and what a real goal is, and set a goal and just set about working towards that goal every day. And that for me was the magic. I didn't know where I was going before. I didn't have a target I was shooting at. So as soon as I set that target, I knew I had the goods to go after something. I just had never made up my mind where I wanted to go.
So then once you set those goals, that was it.
Yep. Set the work doing the goals, and just what can I do today to move myself closer, and, measuring things and taking all kinds of action, but working on my mind too, because I had a lot of, like we all do, paradigms, as Bob calls them, to kind of change and, uncover my worth and all that kind of stuff. So
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. And you
Mhm.
obviously have made a huge success or have gained a lot of success because of that work and working on yourself, of course. So now I have gotten to know you because I have been working with you and Brian Proctor, and of course, Corey, who is amazing, wonderful,
Yeah.
and Trace. So, how did that kind of form?
Yeah. So, okay, there's a lot of story to tell in between that, but basically, so Brian Proctor is Bob Proctor's son, one of his two sons. And so somewhere in that mix, I ended up setting a goal to go and work right with Bob Proctor and manifested that. And there's the whole story there. But I was Bob Proctor's creative director for the last kind of 4 years of his life. And that is where I got to meet his whole team, and which of course included Brian and Corey, his wife, at the time. And so became friends with them. And fast forward a lot, Bob passed a couple of years ago, and Corey and Brian have started their own mission to continue Bob's work in their way. And we're pretty interested in having me help them do that, because all of the stuff I do is nothing they know how to do. So, and I was pretty excited about helping them too, because I knew I could help them in a big way. So yeah, it's just been this whole journey these last couple of years, helping them create their program, Proctor's Principles, and been a nice bonus for me to also be kind of included in front of the scenes work, and not just the behind the scenes, which was my main work, for a lot of years.
So, did that make you nervous at first when you went from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes?
It not necessarily with Brian and Corey, because I already got a little bit used to that working with Bob. So when COVID happened and we took everything online, that Bob pulled me in front of the camera for that stuff, because we started doing everything online and needed things to be kind of emceed and hosted and whatever. And so that was my first time doing that. And yeah, that was a little nerve wracking in the beginning of that, but I got used to it because we were doing it like every week almost for some time there. So I got comfortable with that there with Bob. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And now
Mhm.
I know that you have the Collier Collective, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool. That's really cool. And
Yeah.
Brian was talking about how um, you had kind of put a group together for his first book, which was My
Mhm.
Father Knew the Secret. And was Brian involved in that as well?
Yeah. So my husband Monty and I started the Collier Collective. Just you know what? It's going to be 2 years in January 31st, my birthday. That was when we launched it 2 years ago. And so this has been our foray into getting into the personal development world with our own company to, serve the world in the way we're inspired to do so. And it's been a lot of trial and error. But one of the things we started a little under 2 years ago then now was a reading group. So, when we were learning from Bob and working with Bob, one of the things he's always used to talk about is how daily study, of enlightening materials that teach you more about yourself is so essential in the repetition of those ideas. And felt like there was a gap in the marketplace of a really great study group to be able to do that with some consistency, because so many times people, they don't have someone in their immediate physical surroundings, family, friends, coworkers, that are really studying these ideas. And so um, it can be a challenge to stay in this information and this energy if you don't have someone around you. So we thought, let's bring something out that's affordable, that can help us all like stay connected in a more consistent way, and just kind of do this as a group. And so we started a reading group every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that blossomed into our current offer, which is called Manifesting with Friends. It's our virtual community, and it's like a little personal development village in the virtual world, where we do all kinds of things. But one of them is still that Monday, Wednesday, Friday reading group. And when Brian and Corey wrote their first book, My Father Knew the Secret, we were of course, extremely excited about that, like all of the Bob Proctor fans are that knew about that, and we invited them to. We said, we want to read your book in our group, and would you come and read it with us on the first day, just to like kick us off? And so they came, and it was amazing, and they so generously that day offered to keep coming back every week while we were reading the book. So they did, and we did that for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 weeks or something, and it was so good, and it really helped get their book out there in a big way, because our group's pretty loud, and we were all, talking about it and sharing about it, and that it was right at their launch, so it really helped them kind of get that book on the charts, I think, with our group.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it was so good. And then they've just stayed. So they're like a fixture in our community too. They come in once a month to do a call with our group called the Proctor Perspective. And it's where you get to bring in questions or topics or situations and literally get the Proctor's perspective on whatever you've got. So, and then we just started another group reading their newest book, 12 Easy Steps to Change Your Life. So yeah, it's been really, really fun to collaborate on both sides with them, in their business and in our business. They've become great friends.
Yeah, well, you're very lucky. And I love the fact that they're so down to earth. And it's amazing how you can really get to know them personally. So if anybody out there is thinking about, whether you should join one of their groups or if you want to join with Tommy's groups, I got to tell you, what a difference in this world, because they're so down to earth. They don't have any judgment at all of anybody. And, they always have some great answers. And I've had Brian on my podcast twice, and he's amazing. And now I have you. Next, I'm going to have to talk Corey into it. So I always tell her she needs to make some sort of tea that I can drink, because man, she is just, I don't even know what to call her. She's so calm. She's amazing. She's very knowledgeable. She just knows how to make you feel better, And Brian, I feel like he's my brother. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're around the same age. Yeah. And we come from the same area.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so real. They're so authentic and heart-centered. I mean, that's why I'm collaborating with them the way that I do. I get a lot of collaboration requests, okay? And that they are salt of the earth, good human beings. And I really resonate with the way that they coach and teach and how they do it in their way. And it's beautiful. It's different than Bob. Okay. It's not the same thing as Bob. No one ever could be. But I think the way that they're doing it is amazing. And it's honestly the way that it's what the world needs right now. And it's what the coaching world needs right now, because there's so much stuff that goes on in the coaching world that we just don't resonate with. And doing it the way we're doing it, I think is, the way things are shifting to in the coaching world personally.
Well, it's definitely a class act, Tommy.
Thank you.
And I am so honored and delighted that you said yes to my invitation, because
my pleasure.
I
love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm just so excited. So before we say goodbye, I always ask all my guests, and I don't know if you've seen any of the Mindset Playground, but I always ask them for 3 golden nuggets that the audience can take away with them. So what would your 3 golden nuggets be?
Oh gosh, it could be so many. I'll just get the ones that pop to mind first. So let's see, a couple of big things that I learned from Bob, like directly. One is know your worth. Okay. So when you know what you're worth and you convey that worth, that's where things open up. Understanding your worth, your value, if you're talking business, like in the service that you provide, charging accordingly, that kind of thing. So there's one. The second one I'll say is discipline yourself to rest. So a lot of us in the, entrepreneurial world, we can really grind and push ourselves over the limit. I know I have many times, and one of the things Bob told me one time was, when you're feeling fatigued, discipline yourself to rest, because it's not going to be a forever rest. You're going to be back at it before you know it, but make sure you rest, That's two. Okay, what's the third one? I guess we'll just wrap it back into what I talked about earlier. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where you're headed, if you don't have a goal, you're kind of liable to just sort of meander around. If you think about like a ship going from one port to the other, like there's a definite destination in mind. They don't just decide, they don't just point the ship in the general direction of the other shore and set sail. They have planned very well in advance where they're going to end up. So having a goal, knowing the target that you're shooting at, you've got to do that. And that can take a while to learn enough about yourself to know what you really want to go after. Like goal setting is not, it's not an easy thing for most of us. So you got to kind of do some work on yourself to really know who you are. And then you can set a really great goal that takes you, to your dreams. So yeah.
Well, Tommy, that is so great. Thank you so, so much for being
My pleasure, Luann.
a guest. And I look forward to being in touch with you because I know I will be. And I hope
Absolutely.
that whoever watches this will come and join us because we got some great stuff going on. And I really do appreciate you, Tommy. So have a wonderful day. And
you too.
I will catch you soon.
Friend.
Yes,
okay.
for sure.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Luann.
This has been the Mindset Playground with host Luann Hunt. Tune in each week for another daily dose of positivity right here on the Mindset Playground.